welcome to Tonight here, another Topic of the Week video. With the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield, I'm in the mood to talk about Pokemon. So that's what I'm going to do this week. This week's topic was submitted by Grimalkins on the Discord, and her topic is, what made Mewtwo such an effective villain, and can you talk about some of your other favorite villains in the Pokemon franchise? So, in Pokemon the first movie, where Mewtwo was the antagonist, he was a very interesting character. Mewtwo ended up becoming one of the most popular characters in the entire franchise for a reason. Okay, so apart from the fact that he's got like a cool design and he's really powerful, his character in Pokemon the first movie just cemented the fact that everyone loves Mewtwo. You know, he's this experiment born on as a clone of Mew, and he's discovering his own existence, but feels like he's just used, and it makes him bitter and angry, which is why he ends up becoming the antagonist. I mean, shoot, Giovanni's there, but he's only like involved in the story for the beginning part. He's just there to facilitate Mewtwo's own start of darkness. But you can really feel sorry for what happened with Mewtwo, especially if you watch the like 10 or so minute origin story, which is like a prologue to the movie where you really start to see, man, wow, even as a little itty bitty baby Mewtwo, you know, he watched other Pokemon other Pokemon clones and even the Amber clone die in front of him. Wow, like, oh. They do not hesitate to get right into the trauma for him. But I mean, you can understand why he'd become so bitter and angry when you see how he was treated. But you know, when he does have his redemption arc, and he has this whole coming to terms with things, and yada yada yada. It's an interesting arc, and honestly, it's just it's kind of hard to explain, especially because I've been in the fandom since the beginning, way back when the original Pokemon boom happened back in the late 90s, and it's just like everyone just loves Mewtwo. I mean, shoot, people love Mewtwo in Smash because of really Mewtwo in the movie. I mean, and all this stuff was actually based off of stuff from the original games, because the whole the abandoned mansion on Cinnabar Island will have these notes that describe the creation of Mewtwo. Because Mewtwo's in the game in that cave that you can find at the end of the game, and he's just he's another real late game Pokemon to catch. That's really it. I mean, there's a backstory about it, and they take that backstory and then they expand on it. They really flesh it out in the movie, and it's really interesting to see Mewtwo's character, because this was the first time that they really, I mean, this being the first movie, I mean, it was really something new with Pokemon, but having the main villain be a Pokemon and then Mewtwo, and he's a psychic type, and Mewtwo's since then, even in different incarnations, it always ends up being based on this Mewtwo because of just how much it stuck with people. He's an interesting character, a sympathetic character, and honestly, I would really struggle to outright call him a villain, just because, well, I mean, yeah, okay, he did commit some, murder when he blew up the lab, but I think just outright calling him an antagonist is probably the most accurate term, because he is an antagonist and he does antagonisty things. But, calling him an outright villain, I don't know, I find that difficult, especially because he is so sympathetic. Which, yes, you can have villains with sympathetic backstories. But with Mewtwo's case, him trying to discover his purpose in life, and it's really something that a lot of people really got attached to. So what really makes him such an effective villain, an effective antagonist, is because it takes this weird Pokemon from the games, this real late game super powerful Pokemon that a lot of people probably use their Master Balls on. And it makes him into an actual character. It gives him depth. It makes you feel for him. I mean, shoot. I mean, they actually brought him back in the, what was it? The Mewtwo Return special? I think that's what it was called. Where you had, where it was very much just a, hey guys, look, it's Mewtwo again. I mean, it also really does help that Pokemon the first movie has some of those real, like, gut-wrenching moments, like when Ash dies, and then, you know, he's revived, and then Mewtwo learns not to be a bad guy. I mean, I'm really oversimplifying it, but it's been a long time since I've actually watched Pokemon the first movie in its entirety. But I mean, a lot of that stuff has stuck with me, even years after having not seen it, just because it's so good. Like, I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people love the old Pokemon movies, like the first movie, and even Pokemon 2000, and you know the third movie with the Unknown and Entei, and the fourth movie with Celebi, and then Pokemon Heroes with Latios and Latias. You know, they always did something real, like, interesting with them. Though the first two were definitely the best, hands down. And really, I honestly think that Mewtwo as an antagonist is, like, of all the movie antagonists, I mean, of all the ones I've seen a lot of Pokemon movies, but I know I haven't seen all of them. Especially when I kind of fell out of the Pokemon, like, anime around Hoenn when I was a kid. But, yeah, I mean, of all the movie, like, you know, antagonists, I always found Mewtwo to be the most interesting. Because, you know, Pokemon 2000, as much as I love Pokemon 2000, like, that movie was fantastic. You know, there's Collector Guy, and I can't remember his name. Was it, like, Lawrence or something? I don't remember. Like, of all of that movie is great, but it's not because of the antagonist. I mean, outside of him setting up the plot, but, then, you know, you had, I think her name was Molly in the third movie, where she's, like, creating this dreamscape thing. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of the movie villains aren't, like, notable. I really have such a hard time remembering a lot of them, except for Collector Guy and, well, Mewtwo. And you can tell they did put some work into Mewtwo. Like, they gave him a backstory. They gave him a reason why he believes what he does. They showed him being abused. They especially showed his interactions with Giovanni, who's another great Pokemon villain. One of my all-time faves. But you really do see that. You understand where he's coming from. So, when he's like, I hate humans, you're like, well, you dealt with Giovanni, so... Yeah, it's Team Rocket. They're bad guys. So, yeah, I understand where he's coming from. But then he learns his lesson, and it's really moving. And I wish I could quote it, because I know because there's the speech at the end where it delivers the message. I wish I could remember that word for word, but it has been a long time, and I can't remember everything after having not seen this movie in, shoot, like what, 10 years? It's been a while. But yeah, I mean, even the stuff I do remember, I mean, that's just how much it sticks with me. It's like, and that's why so many people loved it. It did something interesting. Now, as for other Pokemon villains, of course, I mentioned Giovanni. Giovanni is like the OG Pokemon villain. And, you know, and he's pretty cool. Now, sometimes it got a little bit goofy, especially in the anime, where he just kind of sat around not really doing much. But, you know, he had some cool stuff. Especially his stuff in the first movie. Like, that's actually cool. Seeing him use Mewtwo and, like, him trick him. Like, he tricks Mewtwo and uses him. And then he only has a few minutes of screen time at the beginning, but he's just such a menacing villain. He's just like a literal mafia boss. And, you know, and you can tell, like, whenever they're creating, like, new, like, villains for Pokemon games, you can there's always some like base of Giovanni in that, but pretty much all of them never really like reached that level of with Giovanni. Like A lot of them are, I mean, you've got like Maxie and Archie and Ruby and Sapphire, where they're like super extreme environmental terrorists, where one of them is like, I want to destroy the sea, and the other is like, I want to cover the land with water, and it's like, both of you guys are crazy, you'll destroy the earth. And you got Cyrus, you got other ones. But the one I probably like the most is probably Gestus and N as antagonists. Now, full disclosure, Black and White is one of my favorite Pokemon games. Like, seriously, I freaking loved that game. I cannot tell you how much I loved that game, and I played the crap out of it, more so than other Pokemon games. Just because I loved it, I especially loved the story. And the way Gestus and N fit into the story. Because Gestus comes in and he starts preaching this stuff with Team Plasma. This whole thing of, oh, your Pokemon trainers are just like restricting your Pokemon and enslaving them. You need to, if you truly love your Pokemon, you'll set them free. Acting like he's some sort of like a messianic figure. Like it's some weird prophet. And he's got N, who's like the poster boy. And N's not a villain. Like, I would never consider N a villain. At worst, he'd be like an anti-villain, because he is on the side of Team Plasma. But you can even see with the way, especially when you find out some details about his past with Gestus and how he was treated, and it's like, yikes. But, he's a genuine character who does want to do good. It's just the fact that he's being led by Gestus, who's not good. But I really kind of like the commentary that they did with Black and White. Because you've always had these edgelords for years go on about how Pokemon's basically just like dogfighting and it's abuse. And it's just like, no, Pokemon like to fight. The whole synergy with Pokemon and humans living together. It's kind of like a theme in the series of, living together and helping each other, where Pokemon help humans and humans help Pokemon. And sure, there are some bad people, but the good guys fight the bad guys and then they win. I mean, very simple stuff a lot of the time. With Black and White, it almost felt to me like they were making commentary on that, where you have Gestus come in and spout the same things that you would hear from these people who say things like, oh, well, you're being a Pokemon trainer, you're treating your Pokemon so badly. You need to release them. And then you find out the Gestus is just a lying sack of crap, and he's just using this whole, like, religious cult thing to his own megalomaniacal benefits. But I do like that commentary, because it did something different, because this antagonist isn't just some guy who comes out and is like, hi, I'm a villain and I lead an evil team of bad guys. I mean, obviously very early on you see that Team Plasma are not good, but it's not like they run around like Team Rocket being literally the mafia, or they're not like terrorists or stuff like that. Well, I mean, they are terrorists, but like, they don't run around like advertising themselves as that. And I like the way this is set up, because you interact with N numerous times in the game, and it really kind of shows, N's a decent guy, and this is why he doesn't side with Gestus ultimately in the end. He does end up going off on his own. But, I always really liked that when I was playing the game, because it felt like they were really using Gestus to do something interesting. Because you have two people, you have, like, Gestus and N, like, at first they sound like they're saying the same thing, but as you go through the game, you see that Gestus doesn't really hold to those, the same morals and stuff that he's preaching about. Oh, it's best for Pokemon to just let them go free, so that I can capture them and use them for my own needs. It's less like, yeah, but you see, N's genuine. He genuinely does want to help Pokemon. But when you're being led by Gestus, who turns out to be a complete and total psychopath, yeah, you might be working with the villains. It's kind of like Are we the baddies? You know, scene from that one show or whatever. But yeah, I always found them to be really interesting characters, and definitely a reason why I ended up loving Black and White so much. I mean, overall, like, you know, some of the other antagonists, they haven't been bad, but like, a lot of them I haven't really found to be nearly as memorable. I mean, you had Team Flare. Team Flare was kind of neat, but I actually never finished Pokemon Y. I should probably get around to doing that at some point. It's just one of those games where I never, I got busy and never got around to finishing it. Same with Pokemon Sun and Moon. Yeah, I should probably get on that. But yeah, I mean, Gestus and N are probably Giovanni in terms of the games, like some of my favorites. Okay, no, Mirror B in Pokemon Coliseum. The weird disco-looking dude, like that was funny. I can't not mention Mirror B, just because he was so weird. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a bajillion other Pokemon spin-off games that I never played because Pokemon is just such a huge freaking franchise. Yeah, those were some of my my favorites. If I just had to pick a select few, you know, Mewtwo, Giovanni, Gestus, and N, and different antagonists that I liked. And I definitely favor some of the more either the we're just evil like Giovanni or Gestus, and then you have the more sympathetic ones like N and Mewtwo. But yeah, I think that's about it for this topic. So, if you want to submit a topic to me, you can follow the rules that I'll be posting down below. If you're on Tumblr, you can just comment down below and submit a topic. Or if you're on Tumblr, send me an ask, put topic : and whatever topic you want me to talk about. Or if you're on the Discord, just go into the topic submissions channel and submit a topic there. Just make sure to follow the rules that I'll be posting down below. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when you get that done. So what are your favorite Pokemon antagonists from across the franchise? Please comment below, and thank you for watching.